Hey, Bonnie. Welcome, everyone. Yes, we're diving into, thank you so much for your questions. They have been amazing. We are pushing 60 answers so far, and I really appreciate it. Letting me know, what is your big question related to hormones? Let me get my Facebook peeps going and get their comments. Okay, great. So you're letting me know your one most important question around hormones at midlife. And we're thinking about relaunching the Hormone Balance Mastermind in July. So we're kind of on the fence. So trying to decide, do people want this? Are we going to do it or not? So also when you submit your question, let us know, like, this is something that could be useful. And if you guys did it, I would definitely want this to be a part of it so that we know if this is something that you're interested in. And if we have enough people who are interested, we'll definitely do it again. Because the ladies who are doing it right now and the ones who did it a few months ago had amazing results. We had Deb M met her goal weight finally. And she's almost 60. We had Carrie hadn't been able to lose even 5 pounds in the past 10 years, and she's lost 15, which is amazing. And she had a real problem with her poop. This is a side note. And now she's pooping every day, which is connected to the weight loss. So anyway, love to see your comments, your questions on the One Hormone Survey. We got the link up in the description on Instagram. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or wherever on the other channels, then you'll get it there. All right, let's dive into the questions. So the big question that so many of you had was about sleep. And I'm going to get to that in a second because it's super important. But I want to touch on a couple other questions we got since yesterday that are really important too. So one was around non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is actually the most common liver dysfunction globally. Most often it occurs because we eat too much sugar and too much junk food, processed food, restaurant food, and it has all these unhealthy fats and unhealthy sugars, and it clogs up our liver. And if it goes on unabated, your liver actually can start getting fibrosis, the cells get destroyed, and it can lead to cirrhosis. So a lot of people think liver disease, alcohol, not so. It's sugars and fats that are unhealthy. So the question was around, why does estrogen increase non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is actually not true. Actually, they're looking at estrogen to help reverse it because non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is higher in incidence in menopausal women and men who have lower estrogen. So they're actually, women with good estrogen have the lowest rates. So they're looking at, does estrogen replacement improve non-alcoholic fatty liver disease? So I thought that was a great question. This may not apply to everyone, but it's something that applies to a select number of people who really need to get this addressed. And along with these questions, I often get a lot of questions about insulin resistance because that increases around midlife. And a lot of women are really struggling. They're like, I'm not eating birthday cake every day. Is anyone like, I'm not eating birthday cake every day. Why do I have insulin resistance, right? So you're not out partying with sugar, and yet you can have insulin resistance, and this can occur around the perimenopause, menopause time. So this is why hormones are super important. You know, you have them for a reason, and so many of us think that it's just about sex drive and reproduction and babies. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Okay, get that out of your head. Ixnay. These sex hormones, and we just really shouldn't call them sex hormones, they're about so much more. They're about your brain function and your neurons in your beautiful hard drive that is your brain. It's about how you feel, your mood. It's about your memory. It's about your skin. It's about your eye health, right? Keeping your vision healthy. It's about your gastrointestinal health. It's about your bones and your muscles. Every cell in your body has receptors for sex hormones. So it's not just about sex, not just about sex drive. It's about so much more. So I wanted to answer that. Now let's talk about the sleep situation because it is a situation. Sleep aids are some of the top 5 of non-prescription and prescription medications in the United States. Multi-billion-dollar a year industry. What does this tell you? Americans are really having trouble sleeping. And who's having the most trouble sleeping are women at midlife. You know what I'm talking about. Hey Van, how are you? Bonnie, good to see you. So good to see you guys. So that is, it's a huge problem. So, and I love seeing what this is like real time, right? Like with my friends and family and what I observe. So I dance salsa. Does anyone here like to dance? Like, I love to dance. So I went to this salsa, they call it a salsa congress. It's a conference in Florida a few years back with this friend of mine. And I didn't know her that well. So it was the first time we were staying in a hotel together. And it was very interesting to me to observe that when it was time to go to sleep, she would take her Ambien and she would wash it down with a glass of wine. That was her answer to sleep problems. I know a lot of you watching this can probably relate, because what happens when you go to your doctor and you say, oh, I can't sleep? They give you a medication. Do they do any tests? Does anyone tell me, if they're watching, if you had trouble sleeping and you said to your doctor, I'm having trouble sleeping, what test did they do? No test, right? No test. There's no test that mainstream doctors do when you can't sleep, because mainstream medicine is about what? Symptom management. They give you a pill for your ill. So you can't sleep. Here you go. Here's a prescription. Problem solved. You are good to go. What's the problem with this? Well, the problem is several things. Number one, the prescription medications that we give for people who can't sleep are only approved for short-term use. Why? Because they actually exacerbate the problem that you're taking them for. I'm going to say that again. They exacerbate the problem that you take them for, meaning you take them to help you sleep. But after you've been on them a week or two, guess what? They make your sleep problems worse. So what happens? You need the medication more and you become dependent. So they're just like any addictive medication in that you develop tolerance to them and an addiction. So you see people on them for years and years and years, and that was my friend's situation, right? So maybe this is you. So what is the other problem? Right. So they might do a sleep apnea test, right? Are you stopping breathing when you're sleeping? That would be a great test to do. But there's not really anything else that's done to evaluate why you can't sleep other than a sleep apnea test. So what is the other problem with these sleep medications? You develop an addiction, you develop a tolerance. They cause, even though they knock you out, they don't give you high quality sleep with the restorative types of brain waves that you need. They interfere with your REM cycles that you're supposed to have every 90 minutes, at least 4 times a night. This is the restoration of your brain and nervous system. They interfere with that. So even though you're knocked out, right, and you think you're sleeping, you are not having restorative sleep. Just like some people, a lot of women turn to alcohol to help them sleep because they have such trouble sleeping. Same problem. Disrupted brainwave patterns, disrupted REM cycles, poor restorative sleep. So do not turn to alcohol and do not turn to drugs. What's the other problem? The other problem is that the reason why you can't sleep is causing you to have other health problems that you may or may not be aware of. And that's the biggest danger, because there are 7 main metabolic hormones, many of which are involved with your sleep. And if they are out of balance, one of your symptoms will be that you can't sleep. But guess what some of your other symptoms will be? You might gain weight. You might be losing hair. You might be losing memory. You might have no sex drive. You might have gut dysfunction. So you can have symptoms all over your body. And if you only pay attention to the fact that you can't sleep and you don't go This symptom is up in the leaves and branches of the trees. If you haven't heard my health analogy about a tree, go back and look at all the other videos where you're watching this and you'll get it. And the symptoms are up in the leaves and branches, right? Can't sleep, can't digest food, headaches, all the health problems we have are up in the leaves and branches. So if you go down the trunk of the tree into the roots in the ground, that's where the answers are. And so hormone balance would be the first one with those 7 main metabolic drivers. So if you just give a pill because you can't sleep up in the leaves and branches, you're ignoring the fact that if you went down the trunk, all these hormones are out of balance, and that's giving you this symptom of can't sleep. But guess what? It's also a part of your weight gain. It's a part of your migraines. It's a part of your urinary incontinence, your low sex drive, your hair loss, your dry skin, your brittle nails, your memory problems, your irritability, your anxiety, your depression. It's a part of everything. So all the leaves and branches are just the symptoms. You've got to go down the trunk of the tree into the soil to the roots. So the problem with the sleep medication, the third problem, is that you're ignoring the fact that the reason why you can't sleep is also contributing to other health problems. It's not your fault. Your doctor doesn't know this. It's not their fault. They weren't trained in this. Right? I wasn't trained in this. None of us were. And until my health hit the wall and I was deteriorating, I didn't know the difference until I went and got training in the truth about health. And so now that's why I help women. So with the same problems I had. So back to the sleep. So we got the 3 main problems of just treating with a drug, right? But now let's get into what's really going on when you can't sleep. So sleep is a multifactorial problem. It's not one thing, right? It's never one problem. So your weight is a multifactorial problem. Your weight is not a math problem. I know you've been told for years that you eat too much, you don't move enough. That's a lie. You've been told it's your fault you're overweight. That's a lie. Once you hit 40, it is not your fault, because you didn't know the truth. It's not a math problem. It's a communication problem. So here's someone on Facebook says, I've been tracking my sleep for a while because this is a huge issue for me. I'm a light sleeper with tracking via Fitbit. I can see how often I wake up and how little I hit REM sleep, right? So if you have one of those trackers, that can be very helpful, even if you're knocked out. And I'll give you a challenge. If you're on Ambien or Benadryl or whatever you take to sleep, Sonesta, I want you to get one of these sleep trackers, and I want you to see how unrestful the sleep you're actually getting is. That's a challenge to all of you, and thank you for sharing that. Sometimes data can really be those wake-up call, the cold water slap in the face that you need to wake up to the fact that a pill for every ill is not the answer to your health problems, because it's not. It doesn't create vitality. It only suppresses symptoms. And when you suppress symptoms, you suppress your God-given innate signal from your body system to tell you something's wrong. So then you think you're great because now I'm sleeping. I take my Ambien, I'm knocked out. I drink my wine, I'm knocked out. I'm good. Wrong. You are not good. You are far from good. So that symptom went away, but all the things that were causing it are still creating mischief in your body and in your health. And they're the things that are going to lead to immune system dysfunction, right? They're going to lead to chronic illnesses and all the types of health problems we don't want to get. So when I think about health problems we don't want, I think of 2 categories that are the worst, right? Cancer, which is something everybody fears. 1 in 2 of us are going to get it in our lifetime. Well, also number 2 would be autoimmune disease. Things like multiple sclerosis, lupus, right? You probably know people with these things. Those are probably the 2 biggest categories that people abhor. I'll add 3 to that is neurologic disorders, right? Alzheimer's, Lou Gehrig's, all these neurologic disorders. So all of these illnesses have one thing at their core. They are immune system failure. Most people aren't aware of that. Cancer is immune system failure. Autoimmune disease, immune system failure. So you want to be digging in the soil, in those roots and addressing these, right? So sleep is multifactorial. So are all these illnesses. I know that we doctors have kind of got you to believe that disease just comes upon you like because of your genes, but that's actually only 5 to 10% of the story. More is about your hormone balance, your toxicity levels, things like that. So you've got 7 major hormones that go into your sleep, and you need to look at what they are doing and get them balanced. Because if any one of those is off kilter, you're probably not going to fall asleep easily, sleep soundly with those proper brainwave cycles and REM, and you're not going to stay asleep, and you're not going to wake up refreshed, and you're not going to have abundant energy throughout the day. You might want to take a nap in the afternoon. If I'm talking to you, give me a shout out in the comments. So what are those hormones? So number 1 would be insulin hormone, which we talked about the other day. It's key for regulating your blood sugar. That actually has huge effect on your ability to fall asleep, have restful sleep, and stay asleep. And then thyroid hormone. Everybody knows it's important for energy, but most people don't know that if your thyroid hormone is out of balance, waking up in the middle of the night is often one of the signs that your thyroid hormone is out of balance. And then the 3rd and 4th would be cortisol and DHEA, which really, that's where for American women at midlife, most of us have our problems with that cortisol and DHEA, your stress hormone. And unless you have a salivary cortisol test where you collect saliva morning, noon, afternoon, midnight, to kind of see what's good. That's you. Someone on Facebook's like, that's me. Hello. Anybody else? Like, that's me. So unless you have that test done, you are not going to know, is my cortisol contributing to this? So we're all about test, don't guess. And that's why in the Hormone Balance Mastermind, so with the Stop the Menopause Madness Summit, women were learning about this and they're like, oh my gosh, I totally get it. I need a Dutch test to check my sex hormones. I need the right thyroid tests, not the ones that my regular doctor does, and I need them read the right way. I need the salivary cortisol test. So all the women who went to the summit were like, Dr. Kieran, we need this. So that's why I created the Hormone Balance Mastermind. So it's amazing. People from all over the US can do the mastermind from the comfort of their own home, like sitting in your pajamas on your phone or computer like you're doing now. And you get the kit sent to your house and you collect the saliva and collect the urine and then you send it to the lab and they get a report. And then you can see in full color what's going on with your hormones. So no more is it like searching on Google, why can't I sleep? Trying to figure out what nutrients do I need to take to go to sleep. You know you've done this, right? And one of the questions on the sleep that came in since yesterday was like, I'm taking magnesium and melatonin because they read online that that helped, but they still can't sleep. And if that's you, there's definitely something going on. So that's why I created the mastermind. And then ultimately yesterday, I talked about how I created the telehormone company too, because the next question was, women are like, oh, this is awesome. I can check my saliva cortisol. I can check my sex hormones. But now I don't have a doctor in my neighborhood. If I need natural hormone replacement prescribed, who can do it for me. So that's why I founded the telehormone company so that you guys would have that too. But at its base, sleep is a very complicated activity. I know, you look at babies and you think, oh, it's so simple to sleep. But it actually is a very complicated activity that has to have a lot of neurologic input. So your nervous system has to be balanced. That's another thing that I teach you about. We actually have in the mastermind a module that I created called the sleep solution, which is the solution to sleep. But as a part of that, we also go through and do all the testing and all the things. So I love this question. I didn't say anything to my friend who I was sharing the room with when we went to Florida to that salsa congress. We had an amazing time, by the way. And this was like years ago. So it was before lockdown. Hopefully we'll start getting back to the salsa. I don't consider it my place to give unsolicited advice. She didn't ask my opinion about her sleep, so I didn't say anything. But I do notice how many women, and maybe you relate to this, so many women in the who've gone through the mastermind, they do the typical midlife woman bookends on their day. What is that? Coffee in the morning, wine at night. Coffee in the morning, wine at night, which is essentially just kind of drugging your way through life. Caffeine to get you stimulated, it's the upper, and your wine is your downer to calm you down. That's really not a way to live, is it? I did that for years, and my health suffered, and my life was really not. It was kind of miserable. I mean, I weighed 243 pounds. I had depression, anxiety, hair loss, no sex drive. I mean, I was just fibromyalgia, gut dysfunction. What was my answer? Because I, as a board certified OBGYN, I thought I knew all there was to know about women's health. And so I didn't have any answers. All my tests were normal, right? So what did I do? Self-medicate with coffee in the morning and wine at night. Coffee in the morning, wine at night. I call it the midlife woman's bookends. And if that's you, what I want you to know is there is a better way to live. It's funny because when I talk about this in the mastermind and I'm like, okay, show of hands, who's been doing the midlife bookends? And everyone's like, I have. And by the end of the course, you just don't need those things anymore because, your body is not something to be jumped up with jumper cables in the morning and drop down. I definitely, if you're here, we got a few more minutes. If you have questions and you'd like me to answer, please post them in the comments on whatever platform you are watching. You're also welcome to go to the survey and enter your question. And you can go to http:/bit.ly/one hormone, all spelled out, ONEHORMONE. I think it's posted on all the places where you could be viewing this. Post your question. Let us know, what would your life be like in the fall if you got your hormones balanced this summer? And that's a serious question. Like, what are your hormone imbalances stopping you from doing? Right? Are you going to not go to the July 4th pool party because you're not liking how your body looks in a bathing suit and you're embarrassed, or because your tummy has gotten a little round with the lockdown, and you don't know how to lose weight? Like I said, someone in the program, she hadn't been able to lose even 5 pounds in the past 10 years. And now she's lost 15 pounds, right? Because your weight problems are not a math problem. It's a communication problem. And your hormones are the communicators, which we talked about a few days ago. So definitely check that out. What are your hormones stopping you from doing? Are you not going to go, on that trip to Europe that you postponed through lockdown because you're like, I'm just too tired, right? That's just not okay. Midlife should really be the best time of your life, in my opinion. Most of us have kids who are independent at this age, right? So they're doing their own thing, or maybe they're already off to college and living their lives. This should be your time to shine, whether it's in your personal relationships, maybe you've got creativity you want to express, a new career you want to express, or relationships or travel, or like whatever your thing is. Your health is what fuels that. And if you don't have brilliant health, optimal health, energy, vitality, where you feel great in your own skin, well, what is that stopping you from doing? I want you to mentally just think right now, if I felt as good as I could right now, I would do blank this summer. And if there's any part of you that's like, I don't feel up to it, I don't have the resources, I'm too tangled up in my own, I say, this is an expression I say, it may not make sense, tangled up in my own panties, right? To get where I need to be, then you need some help. All right. Oh, I don't know who that is, but someone's on Facebook says the Hormone Balance Mastermind has definitely delivered more than I expected. It's worth the investment. Thank you so much. Let me know who that is. Give me a shout out because I can't read your name unless you register with StreamYard, just because that's the way it works. So let us know, would that be helpful for you? Like, what would balanced hormones by the fall mean to you? It's Erica. Hey, Erica. Good to see you. Let us know what that would mean to you. What could you do? Like, I like to say, like, got hormones? You know, what could your life be like if you had balanced hormones? That's the question I want to leave you with until tomorrow. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for the amazing questions. This sleep question is one that so many of you posed. And, you know, just to comment on that again, magnesium and melatonin, those are two of the things you need for sleep, but there's so much more. Hormone balance, primarily those 7 hormones, are really the factor that you need to get balanced to sleep. And sleep is it's like this positive feedback loop. Sleep is important for health and vitality and balances your hormones, and balanced hormones help your sleep. So it's a positive feedback loop, but when your hormones are unbalanced, it disrupts your sleep, which further disrupts your hormones. So it becomes a negative feedback loop. So if you're stuck in that negative feedback loop, that is what I call like circling the drain downwards, you want to start unwinding that and going up and unscrewing the disasters that are affecting your health and your sleep. Super important. Thanks so much for joining me. Look forward to hearing your other questions in the One Hormone survey, and I will talk with you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Many blessings. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.